Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and don't forget to subscribe. So today is really exciting. I'm looking forward to this video so much. We're looking at a brand new support for Armed Dragons coming out of Blazing Vortex, which is the new OCG confirmed pack, and we'll be getting that sometime down the line. That's just what they're working on at the moment. The first card, and this is kind of the boss monster of the deck, Armed Dragon Thunder level 10. It's a level 10 wind attribute dragon effect monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense. 1. If this card was special summoned by an armed dragon monster effect, apply these effects depending on this card's attack. 1 or more, this card's name is treated as Armed Dragon level 10. 10 or more, possession of this card cannot switch. 100 or more, cannot be destroyed by battle. 1000 or more, once per turn during your opponent's turn. As a quick effect, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one other card on the field, destroy it, and if you do, this card gains 1000 attack. And 10,000 or more, once per turn, you can destroy all other cards on the field. So the wording and the text on this card is incredibly confusing. When I first saw this card, it's a bit like, what is this? What are they doing? What does this mean? But I think I have a better understanding of it as of now. It just kind of took a few minutes just to kind of process, read it over again, and actually understand what it means. So this is based on what the card's current attack is. So most of these effects outside of that 10,000 one will apply immediately. Of course, naming itself Armed Dragon level 10 means you can, it's got the same naming structure, which means you can actually use something like, interestingly, level down to actually get an Armed Dragon level 7 if you want, or the Armed Dragon Thunder level 7 if you prefer. 10 or more, possession of this card cannot be swapped. Always crucial for a boss monster. If your opponent can take your monster, that's not a good idea. 100 or more, it cannot be destroyed by battle. Most monsters have some sort of battle or effect protection. I think effect protection for this card would have been much better, but from the opposing view, I can understand why it would be by battle, because otherwise you're just making this card far too difficult to overcome, and it could be one of those boss monsters that, there are so many of them that I think it was that Apocryphal Towers that was just so powerful, and what it did was basically get itself almost immediately banned. It was just too powerful. I think that was for the one for the Clifford deck, and I think I got the name right on that one. 1000 or more, being able to send a card from your hand to target one other card and destroy it. It's quite similar to how the original Armed Dragon level 10 works. The only difference is this actually triggers on your opponent's turn. So you can actually, if you know what your opponent's doing, it works to shut down. Actually, scratch that. I've actually looked at the Armed Dragon level 10. This card is very specific in that it actually can go for either monsters or spell and traps if you want. And the attack boost is decent. Whereas the original Armed Dragon level 10, actually you send a card from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. In one way, the original Armed Dragon could be a lot more powerful if your opponent has a lot of face-up monsters, but alternatively, it could be completely useless if your opponent doesn't have anything face-up, or if they have cards which are face-down, in the spell and trap zone, which are of potential threats. Of course, this actually gains 1000 attack every time it does it. So if you can keep going, you can eventually get to that point where you get to those 10,000 or more attack. This will take 7 turns. I think there are boosting cards that can actually help to accelerate this, which we'll look a little bit further on, to be able to just completely destroy all other cards on the field. It's very much like a Chaos Envoy Dragon, but it's a little bit worse off because you have to actually wait a while to use this kind of effect. But I think if you'd instantly given it that that last effect, it would just be too powerful. At least making you have to wait for it means you can do things to get rid of it if you're the opponent facing down this card. And at least this means that you can still kaiju it as well. It's not completely invulnerable, which, you don't want. The next card is Armed Dragon Thunder level 7. It's just got the same stat line as the original level 7. Essentially, it's a Wind Dragon effect monster with 2,800 attack and 1,000 defense. You can only use this card's second and third effects with this card's name only once per turn. 1. This card's name is treated as Armed Dragon level 7, while it is face up on the field or in the graveyard. 2. You can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard. Send this card from your field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one level 10 or lower Armed Dragon monster from your hand or deck. And 3, if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a dragon monster effect, you can add one Armed Dragon card from your deck to your hand. This card, I have to say, in comparison to the other Armed Dragon, its namesake, the level 7, is not as good. Its effect is really just to bring out the other Armed Dragon level 10 or lower Armed Dragon monsters. It doesn't do anything. It really doesn't. At least with the... I'm going to have a quick search on this, but I think it just... Essentially, you discarded a card and you were able to remove, to destroy any monsters with less than or equal to the attack of the sent monster. Yep, I'm right. That's just exactly how its effect worked. And so it's not good for what it does. Saying that, if this can actually interact and just bring out the Armed Dragon level 7, the other one, it could just swap itself out to use that effect. But I don't see the point of sending a card and this card just to send another card from your hand to the graveyard to trigger the original level 7. I would have preferred if this had its own unique effect. Otherwise, it's really just the level 10 monster that is scary, and not this card. Of course, if this is used as an effect for the final bit, you're able to just search out one of your Armed Dragon cards, which is also quite useful for what it can do. But again, it pales in comparison to the original version. The next card is Armed Dragon Thunder level 5. It's a level 5 Wind Dragon effect monster, same stat line as the original level 5, 2,400 attack and 1,700 defense. You can use each effect among the second and third with this card's name only once per turn. 1. This card's name is treated as Armed Dragon level 5, while it is face up on the field or in the graveyard. 2. You can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard. Send this card from the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one level 7 or lower Armed Dragon monster from your hand or deck. And 3. If this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a dragon monster effect, you can add one level 5 or higher Wind Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. I have the same problems as I have with the level 7 version as with the level 5. Of course, you can just bring out the level 5 version, which means its namesake alternative, which means you can actually just discard a card and then destroy one face-up monster with attack equal to or less than the discarded monster you had. So that's okay, but it has the same weaknesses as the level 7. This is only really, you have to get rid of this card and you have to get rid of another card to get the level 7 version, or its namesake as well. And also it's a case of, when it's used for cost, you're able to search out for another copy of itself or something stronger. But I see this as very disappointing from that point of view. And the final Armed Dragon card is Armed Dragon Thunder level 3. It's got the same stat line as the original, 1,200 attack and 900 defense. It's a level 3 Wind Dragon effect monster, and you can use each effect among the second and third with this card's name only once per turn. 1. This card's name is treated as Armed Dragon level 3. while it is face up or in your graveyard. 2, you can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, send this card from the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one level 5 or lower armed dragon monster from your hand or deck. And 3, if this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a dragon monster effect, you can draw one card. I'm really disappointed in the 3, the 5, and the 7. I would have preferred if it had some additional part of their effect which would have had something a little bit better. It's all pretty much the same, the first and second effects throughout the 3, 5, and 7. It's only really when you get to the level 10 where there's any consideration for it. Of course, the third part of this effect actually gives you a draw, so you can use that. But I've kind of, other than the level 10, I don't see the value on that. Of course, we now have Armed Dragon level 10 white. This is interesting for anyone who is fans of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. This was essentially part of the second series, which was to do with Sartorius and the Society of Light. There was a time where Chaz, was getting jealous of Jaden, and he really wanted to show him how good he was and how powerful he was. And he was jealous of Aster Phoenix and having the fame and the money and the fans, and he kind of dreamed of having that kind of life. So he actually challenged Sartorius to a duel. Of course, he actually lost because the fates were against him, and he lost to Sartorius's Arcana Force deck. In the process of doing that, he was handed cards to upgrade his deck. Most of these meant he actually chucked away his Ojamas, and most of his other cards he did keep on with his Armed Dragon cards. And he also had the White Knight series of cards as well. He had White Knight Lord, White Knight Paladin, and there was a couple of other ones in there. But there was also a spell card, an equipped spell card, which was used, which is White Veil. This was a card that was given to all members of the society, I think mostly to the more important ones, and showed a level of loyalty and respect to Sartorius, because it was a way of kind of supporting them. He actually used this on the Armed Dragon level 10 when he was facing down Alexis, who was trying to stop him brainwashing loads of more people. But ended up being brainwashed because when White Veil uses its effect, it stops anything else from activating during the battle phase. So we'll now cover the card. It's a level 10 Light Dragon effect monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense. Same stat line as the Armed Dragon level 10. It cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned by its own effect. You can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. 1. You can banish Armed Dragon monsters from your field or graveyard whose total levels equal 10 to special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add 1 White Veil from your deck to your hand. 2. You take no effect damage. And 3. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can destroy 1 card on the field. This is where I do take back a little bit of my criticism for the other Armed Dragon cards. Because a lot of the Thunder cards are just based on kind of supporting this card. The first thing to know is actually being able to banish cards equal to 10 is not difficult. Most of them equal 10. They will all equal 10 at some stage, so you can get rid of a 3 and a 7, 2 5s, or you can get rid of 1 10 to summon this card. This also searches for White Veil. I can understand why it does this, because that's just how the anime worked and relates to how this card is. But I'm hoping there are actually some more White Veil-based cards that are coming out. There are a few of them that were in the anime that never really saw the light of day. So this actually gives me some hope that Konami is actually looking at the anime for Season 2 and actually introducing that. The second effect to take no effect damage is, I don't think, either here nor there. It's a nice little boost, it's a nice little bonus to the effect, but I think this was also to do with, just generally how the duel was going between Alexis and Chaz. But the third effect is what we're here for. At the start of the damage step, you can destroy one card on the field. White Veil, like I said before, prevents your opponent from activating anything when you're going in your battle phase. So this effect will pretty much guarantee to go off unless your opponent responds before you actually, during the process of you equipping that card to this. I'll cover White Veil as well a little bit later on, if you're not aware of it, but it's a simple enough effect. The next card is a quick play spell card, Armed Dragon Flash. You can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn, and you can special summon one level 3 Armed Dragon monster from your deck in defense position. So this actually works really well, and actually I'm really surprised at how well this works. One of the biggest problems with having Armed Dragon level 3, the original one, on the field, is that it's susceptible to being attacked over, ran over, destroyed very easily. It has a stat line of 1,200 attack and 900 defense. By being able to activate this on your opponent's turn after the end of their battle phase, when they're going into the main phase 2, trigger this, you get your level 3 off. During your next standby phase, you can upgrade it to the level 5. It's perfect. I would say this card has been long waited for, and it was necessary to bring it back. The next card is Armed Dragon Blitz. It's a normal spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect, except dragon monsters, and you can target one armed dragon monster you control. Take one monster from your deck or graveyard with the same name as that face-up monster on the field, and you can either add it to your hand or special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. But if you special summon it, it cannot attack directly. So this is really good for what it can do. You can either bring out another version of itself, or you can bring out the Thunder version. So either can be quite useful, either to get them in the graveyard to bring out your Armed Dragon level 10 white, or just to go into your, power up the deck a little bit more. Because if you say you go into the 2 that you picture here, so the level 5s, when they battle the original ones, when they battle and go over a monster, they both upgrade at the end of the battle phase to their level 7 versions. So you can actually power creep and constantly kind of boosts. And the good thing is, because it ignores the summoning conditions, this is always a decent thing. The downside I don't see really that big, because not being able to attack directly, you're going to be getting the upgrade of the monster anyway. So that effect no longer applies if you're able to be smart about it. The next card is Armed Dragon Lightning. It's a continuous spell, and its effect is you can use the first effect with this card's name only once per turn. One, you can target one Armed Dragon monster you control, then activate one of these effects. It gains 100 attacks times its level. Or you can add one Armed Dragon monster whose level is equal to or lower than that monster's from your graveyard to your hand. The second effect, if an Armed Dragon monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. The first part of the effect, gaining 100 attack, means you could either make your level 10 4,000 attack, your level 7 another 700 attack, so that make it 3,500 monster. Level 5 could become a 2,900, or the level 3 could be a 1,500. That's what you can do with it in terms of stat line. The part of the effect which means you can actually recover a equal or lower means that you can actually recover if you heavily use your resources. That means you're not going into things too much. You don't have to dig too much into your deck. But the last part of the effect actually is also really good, because getting, of course, your Armed Dragon cards will be susceptible to card effects. By using this instead, what you're doing is you're preventing that from happening. Of course, with your big boss, the level 10, that can't be destroyed in battle. This is only a once-off effect, but sometimes your opponent will only have that card effect and they won't have anything else, which means you're actually going to beat them down with that card. And the final card is Armed Dragon Thunderbolt. This is a normal trap card. You can only use one effect among the first and second with this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. Target one Armed Dragon monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack for each different card name among the Armed Dragon monsters in your graveyard whose levels are equal to or lower than its own. Also inflicts no battle damage to your opponent for the rest of this turn. 2. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Armed Dragon spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So this is the way you actually power up your level 10 to have that final effect. If you've got any of the other ones, you can essentially have potentially, you can have another 3,000 attack put on that card. Of course, that still relies on you having to use the destruction effect 3 times over, but, at least it's an effect. It does prevent you from inflicting battle damage, but it might put you in that range where you can use that final effect, in which case your opponent probably won't be able to respond to you. Alternatively, it does mean if your opponent tries to run over that card or do anything to it by negating it, you have this as kind of like a last stop reserve. All spell and traps that have a graveyard effect are also quite decent and are now required for anyone to consider running them. So banishing this to actually recover a spell card means that you can reuse that card if necessary. So I have reviewed the cards. I have kind of changed my opinion on them to some extent. I did say I was going to quickly review the White Veil for you. I'll just do that. Okay, so White Veil is an equipped spell card. While the equipped monster battles, your opponent cannot activate any spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. When an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, face-up spell and trap cards your opponent controls have their effects negated until the end of the damage step, even if this card leaves the field. When the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. When this face-up card in a player's spell and trap zone leaves the field, that player takes 3,000 points of damage. So actually this card does a lot more than I thought it does. It does act as a bit of a harpy feather duster as well. So that's also quite useful. Generally, whilst this card hasn't seen play, I can definitely see it being used well, at least within the deck. The downside is, of course, you take 3,000 points of damage if this card is ever gotten rid of. So that's the slight problem. But I do like the style of the Armed Dragon cards. I just think they could have done a little bit more to the smaller versions. They just seem like stepping stones for the final version. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more power from them as well. Whatever you think, leave your comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.